Hi, Links fam. This is Tierza Watts, Director of Student Life and Campus Community at CU Denver. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Conversation. I have a special guest today. I'm excited to have Loryann Varela with us, who works with the Learning Resource Center, great office to get involved in and to learn what they do. LA, do you have your coffee with you? You ready to chat?
I do. I have my coffee.
All right, we're ready to go. Well, folks, LA works with a team of people who does great stuff on campus to support your success. I want to start by just letting her introduce herself.
hmm And so delightful to meet folks. My name is Loryann Varela, and I've had the privilege of working with the Learning Resources Center, which we call LRC, for the past 2 years. And I am just so excited, coming from a background where I worked residence life, career services, international student services, and multicultural affairs. I'm just so excited to be here.
It's awesome that you have that great, really diverse background too. I'm sure that
Yes.
really helps with the work that you do now. Well, one of the reasons I like to bring you on this show early in the semester is that I'm a big believer in tutoring. And so I'll share a story with you of my first semester of college. I ended up having to take economics. Was not a business major, but I wanted to get a minor in marketing. And so I had to take econ. So I get into this class and it has 3 tests. That's it. Those are the only grades for the semester. And I made a B on the first test. I was like, okay, I did pretty darn good.
hmm
My F on the second test was so low, my entire grade was an F. And so that's when I finally heard that message in my ear, actually from my resident assistant in the residence hall. My RA was like, you should go to the tutoring center. And so I did. And for the rest of the semester, I met with a tutor every Tuesday, Thursday. I completely remember this. Don't remember this guy's name, but I met with him twice a week for an hour. And I pulled a C in that class. And the only reason I did that was this guy totally helped explain concepts that weren't just making sense to me. And part of it is econ has different language that you have to learn. It was new to me. So bless that tutor. I literally made 4 C's in college. The rest were A's and B's, but those 4 C's were in business classes. That was not my jam. So I have always told students, use the tutoring center. You're paying for it. They're here to help you, and it really does work. So I'm curious to know what drew you from all those other diverse areas you've worked in into now working in academic support.
I've always been fascinated about learning. And in all of my roles at the university, they've always been around supporting students. But I will say I have a similar experience to you. I was a political science major. I was taking a course, and I remember I hadn't looked at the syllabus, and I walked into class, and they said, "There's a test today," and I took the test, and then later, when the professor was handing the test back, the professor said the high score was a 96 and the low score was a 56. And I remember thinking, oh, great, I got higher than a 56. And then when the paper got passed around, your results, he put my paper on the desk face down and he said, talk to me after. And when I flipped it, I had the 56. And so I talked to the professor after class, and he said, it's really hard to pass if you don't come to class and you don't read the text and you don't look at the syllabus. And I said, yep, you're right. And he said, I'll make you a deal. He connected me with the fella who got the 96 in class. And he said, I want you to work with this student. I've worked with him before. I want you to work with him, and I'm going to give you a chance to do better on your next test, and I'll delete this one. And so I
Wow.
met with the guy, and the guy said, join our study group. And so I became part of this study group. And not only did I develop this really cool community of support, my grades got better and better. I got a low B on the next test and an A on the final. And he ended up giving me an A in the class because he said, the final was comprehensive, so you had to relearn everything you missed the first time. He's like, I'm satisfied you have mastery of the content. And so after that, I've just been like, wow, there are so many great ways to learn, and helping students learn more effectively is my jam. And that is why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
I appreciate that story. That triggered another one that I think might be interesting for our audience.
Mhm.
Um, I had to have a 3.0 for my dad to pay for college, right? And they saved the money for we were military. And so instead of paying a house mortgage, we lived on base, they saved money for our college educations, which we were really privileged in that way. But I had to have a 3.0. And so at the end of my freshman year, I did exactly 3.0. But as I went into that second year of college, I remember struggling with a class fall of my sophomore year. And my mom said to me, Tierza, do you remember using flashcards when you were a little kid, when you were learning to read? And I said, no. And she goes, you really did well with flashcards. So I started using flashcards my second year of college. Yep. And I went from that cumulative 3.0 to a 3.5 that semester. The next semester, a 3.6, and the semester after that, a 3.7. And the only change I made, because my courses were getting more and more difficult, was flashcards. I'm a visual learner. And so I could have a list of 10 things on a piece of paper I was supposed to know for a test and get into the test and tell you it's number 7, but I couldn't remember what number 7 was. But when one piece of information was on that one index card, boy, it came back to me visually in my mind. And so let me tell you, I took that into graduate school. I memorized 400 flashcards for my comps exam for my master's degree. So I think when students find that one little tool or trick that works for how their brain is wired, that's an awesome, aha.
And what's so neat is the example you just gave is what we call retrieval practice, the ability to recall. And you could do that in study groups when people ask you questions. You can do it with flashcards on your own. You can do it practicing with family members. But when you do it, it's a deeper form of learning that really helps with the recall. And it's been scientifically proven as an effective learning strategy.
Awesome. Well, let me tell you, it worked for me.
You were doing good science.
I have to thank my mom for bringing that back to me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm curious, behind you, your wonderful background of our Zoom meeting here is the Learning Commons. So we have this brand new Learning Commons that has been embedded into our new first year residence hall. And I know you're sharing new space with several other offices. Can you just give us a short little snippet of who's in the Learning Hub on the first floor and what do those groups do?
Yeah. And so it's really neat. One of the things that CU Denver is doing is trying to create more one-stop shops that make it easy for students with offices that are very similar and related. They get to be close to each other and work more productively together, and students stop in one place and they get multiple things. So like Link Central. There's multiple offices located in the student commons that are all together. And you've got Links Connect over in the Tivoli, and that's 4 offices coming together. And so the same thing with the Learning Hub. We are the Learning Resource Center, and in that same space is math and stats support, which for returning students, they may know that as the MERC Lab. It is now called MASS, and so Math and Stats Support is there, LRC is there, and Writing Center is there. And so now you've got one place that you can stop and get multiple academic support services. And we're so excited because we do share the space together on the first floor.
That's wonderful. I think it helps students not having to run all over and try to figure out where are things. If I come to one place with a theme, I know that you guys will then get me where I need to go.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And there's a lot of folks who can help that maybe we don't have the specific class that you're taking as one of our academic supports, but we have people who can help you on how to form a study group or how to do different study skill techniques to help you with that. So I do love that every student on this campus can be served in some way on the first floor of the Learning Commons.
That's awesome. Well, let's take a deeper dive into your office, because I know your office does so much to support students like me back that first year with that econ class. So will you give us an overview of your office? And I'm really curious to know about your workshops, supplemental instruction. We had talked earlier about iPrep. So I know you have lots of things you offer. Would you give us a deeper dive?
It's almost like there's 2 sides of the house in the LRC. There's one that involves learning support and one that involves academic support. So the learning support services are our coaching appointments, which are one-on-one individual appointments with students to talk about their time management, study skills, and help them really work on their own plan. And then we've also got workshops. Now we do our workshops online and in person live on different study skill topics, test anxiety,
Mm.
all those kinds of wonderful topics. And then we've also got a video library, and it's got 50 different videos in it. So a student could say, oh, that topic really interests me. I want to learn a little more about learning strategies. You can watch 5 minutes of it. You could watch the whole hour if you wanted. You could watch a piece of it and then make a coaching appointment to talk about it. So really neat services there. And then the other side of the house, the academic support, these are supports connected to specific classes. And so supplemental instruction is where we hire student leaders who have done well in the course to sit in the entire course throughout the term and then put together sessions where you get to dive more deeply into the material that you discussed that week. And so it really mirrors along with how the class is progressing. And then we've got intensive prep, and intensive prep occurs at the beginning of the semester or right before. And it's really formed with some different courses, like we're working with math and chemistry and organic chemistry, to put together these like review workshops that help students refresh their skills, get a little more practice time before the semester really kicks up, and enter the term feeling confident because they're like, I just had a good review. I haven't had math in a decade, and I just got a really good crash course review on math. And I also got to connect with people who are going to provide support throughout the semester. I feel good, and I start with that confidence edge. And then our final thing is we have academic support with some of those specific classes where tutors, who we call now academic guides. So your academic guide could be a drop-in service, which is really popular right now. Students are liking that they can drop in, find the time, and just come without an appointment. Or we've got study groups, and students can sign up to be in a study group, and then an academic guide helps facilitate that. But you get to learn with your peers on that topic. Really popular for organic chemistry.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. Okay. Awesome. You guys do some really good stuff.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think my last question really, because you triggered something in that response where you said if you hadn't had math in 10 years.
Yes.
Um, I want, if you're a non-traditional student watching
Mhm.
this group of people that Ellie's working with, they will absolutely help you get back on that math horse or writing horse or whatever it is, to help you turn that back on. You
Mhm.
probably haven't lost that knowledge, you just got to retrieve it, as we used that term
Yes.
earlier. Yeah. And then get refreshed on how do I do this again. But I do want to ask with my last question, something specific for our first semester traditional age students. They've just arrived. We have all those new first year students living right next door to you in City Heights, as well as we've got a ton of first year students commuting from all over the city. If you had to give 3 tips to first year students as they begin their academic journey, what would those 3 tips be?
Mhm. Oh, I love this. Okay, so first I would give a preface of saying, remember, learning is messy. And when you're learning something new, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. It's going to take a little bit of learning and a little bit of mistake generating, and then you get the competency. So be kind to yourself when you first start. But first thing, time management. That is the number one thing, and it affects us our whole lives. So come up with a time management system that works for you. Really utilize those little blocks of time throughout the day, and come meet with somebody if you want to help develop a calendar. Second, form a study group. Talking out loud and doing that practice recall with others really helps the learning stick with you. And then the third thing would be start strong. A lot of folks think, oh, the first couple weeks of the semester don't matter, and we're like, actually they really do. That generally by the first month you can tell what a student's final grade is going to be at where they stand at that 1 month marker. And so it takes a lot of effort to change that, and we say start strong from the onset, and then you don't have to worry about that. But it is always possible to change the direction, as from my story that I told earlier. I was heading in with an F and I ended up with an A. So it's possible, but it takes a lot of work.
My same story with econ. Yeah, I hope that students, as you're listening to this, you hear here are 2 people who are relatively intelligent, but we still had struggles, right?
Yeah.
There are things that you need to practice, or skills or tips and tricks you can use. And so thank you so much for meeting with me today. Appreciate you joining us for a Coffee and Conversations interview.
Thank you so much.
All
So
right. We'll see you
delightful.
later. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.